Red Hood is a prime example of what happens when editorial has no interest in having a character progress or go through a grand character arc that actually lasts. To be honest, Jason Todd's story peaked with Under the Red Hood because it seems like DC hasn't known what to do with him since. He's had some great stories post Under the Red Hood, but there also came a bunch of inconsistencies on his stance as a hero or anti-hero and his relationship with Batman and the Bat family. At one point, he's beefing with Batman, taking down criminals left and right and wanting to kill the Joker. Then he sort of reconciles with the Bat family and cools down, only to end up clashing with Batman again for some reason, a cycle that just keeps repeating. I think one of the biggest appeals for Red Hood as a character to either casual fans or avid comic readers was how much he stood out when compared to the rest of the Bat family. Many people are drawn to his persona because of his no-nonsense attitude, not having a no-kill rule, and sometimes isn't non-lethal. Rocks a dope-looking jacket. I mean, it's hard to not see why people like Red Hood so much. An ex-Robin with Batman training with nearly a like-minded mentality to that of the Punisher with a cool-looking helmet.
Boy! He got that shit on though.
If you want Jason Todd to stick around fully as part of Batman's vast roster of allies, that's fine. I think it's cool to see a brother dynamic between Dick and Jason, for example.
You could visit him?
I could what?
He went to yours when... You could visit his grave.
You haven't.
I'm not the one staring at the... you know.
Sometimes you're an idiot, Grayson. What?
I was just thinking of that time we all made dinner together, and Tim got tomato sauce all over Bruce and Babs.
I don't remember that.
What? No, you have to. It was the same year. You know what? Never mind. Dumb story anyway.
Well, I could tell you a story. It's about being dead, then brought back to life by a pit of mind-altering goo.
Hey, I didn't mean...
I don't know what's worse. Having a chunk of my life taken away from me, or coming back to everyone thinking I'm gonna snap.
I'm sorry, Jason. We shouldn't have... I shouldn't have treated you like an outsider.
My God, you're such a Boy Scout. No wonder you were the first.
I bet I could stay up here all night.
Sure you can. Dick? Dick!
I was an acrobat, you know?
Fine, you can sit. But you have got to shut up.
That's as far as I'm gonna go in praising the Gotham Knights video game. I don't know what the hell they were thinking in giving Jason mystical abilities after dipping in the Lazarus pit, allowing him to fart up in the air as his method of traversal. In the actual comic source material, if you want Jason to make amends with everyone else, that's fine. Just stick to that. Quit flip-flopping on when Jason decides to throw a hissy fit and get mad at Batman because it's getting tiring. It's a little surprising how little Red Hood has been portrayed in other adaptations. His only live-action depiction is in the horrendous Titan Titans show, which basically stripped away everything that made him cool. All that emphasis with Jason's vendetta against Batman, wanting to kill the Joker, his highly specialized training, and eventual well-executed character arc, none of that is present. Whenever he is Red Hood, he is neither intimidating nor does he have any presence. Most sauceless Jason Todd I've had the displeasure of watching. He was pretty much Jonathan Crane's little lapdog and was doing anything at his beck and call up until a certain point.
You a bitch. You know why you a bitch? Cause I said so. You just a bitchy bitch. You a bitch McBitcherson. You a bitch McBitch. I go to McDonald's and get a McBitch because you a bitch. Bitch.
That's right, motherfuckers! The hood is back!
Every day I thank God Red Hood in this universe never got his own spin-off HBO series. I would highly recommend watching the video I made a while back going more into detail on Red Hood and Titans Season 3. I don't hold back in that video, I basically ripped the show to shreds. While being an antagonist to Batman at first, Red Hood in the Under the Hood comic wasn't really a villain in a traditional sense, as he was mainly targeting Black Mask's crime operation, forcefully running the drug trade and offering some of the most notorious drug dealers in Gotham who worked for Black Mask protection from him and Batman in exchange for a huge cut of their profits. But he prohibited actions such as dealing to children in schoolyards. There were zero Fs given with Jason because he would expand his territory and eliminate any sense of competition from other drug trades. While I like both the comic and the animated movie, I think the Under the Red Hood movie is a better retelling of Jason's resurrection and his shenanigans as the Red Hood, mainly due to how the film is more streamlined and gets rid of any of the extra fluff seen in the comic that doesn't impact the story. Joker doesn't really play much of a role up until the last couple of issues, whereas in the movie, his presence is felt all throughout and you get a better understanding of Jason's motivations earlier on. The way Jason Todd came back to life is simpler, with him just getting resurrected via the Lazarus Pit, instead of Superboy Prime throwing a hissy fit on the current state of the DC universe and how melancholic it's become. He punched reality so hard it sent ripples across time, altering events that brought Jason back to life and led him to dig himself out of his own grave. Jason was still in somewhat of a chronic vegetative state with limited brain activity and relied mainly on instincts to survive. Talia found out about Jason's whereabouts and watched over him before dumping him into the Lazarus Pit for a full recovery. Post Under the Red Hood Jason would serve as a nuisance for some of the Bat family members before the New 52 reboot. One time he went out of his way to infiltrate Titan's tower just so he could meet Tim Drake, as Tim Drake was the Robin of the Teen Titans at the time. He had the sole purpose of fighting Tim to see what he's made of and find out why Tim was chosen to be Robin after Jason's death in the first place. Throws another temper tantrum on how no one remembered him and that he was once a Titan as well. Beats the brakes off of Tim Drake, then dips before the other Titans show up. Jason was also causing problems for Dick Grayson in the Nightwing book, where he would run around the streets killing criminals dressed up as Nightwing, making Nightwing public enemy #1 for the NYPD as Dick Grayson was chilling in New York for a brief period. In the wake of Batman's supposed death during the events of Final Crisis, Jason was riling up a bunch of gangs in Gotham, taking them over to have certain sections of the city under his control. Bruce left the last will and testament for members of the Bat family, including Jason. Tim invites him over to the Batcave, and Jason watched a recording of Bruce saying how Jason was his biggest failure and blames himself for Jason's self-destructive path in life. He essentially tells Jason to seek therapy and that it's not too late to heal for all the trauma he's faced. As one might think, Jason didn't take too kindly to this. The Battle for the Cowl storyline tackled the ramifications of Batman's absence. Gotham had been in a downward spiral ever since the gangs took notice of Batman's disappearance. Villains like Two-Face and the Penguin were at war with one another. Rioting and looting took place everywhere on the streets. Jason Todd took matters into his own hands, once again killing criminals, only this time he donned a Batman suit of his own. This comic is probably the lowest point for Jason Todd as a character, since it's just him delving into straight lunacy. Aside from the fact he's been killing people, the first messed up thing he does is shoot Damian Wayne while he and Nightwing were trying to stop him. Tim Drake had noticed a copycat Batman roaming around in the streets, using similar tactics and gadgets as Bruce himself, with a brutal style of fighting and marksman skills. Tim advocated for Nightwing to take up the mantle, but Nightwing was very hell-bent on not doing so at first. Tim recognized how vital Batman's presence was for Gotham and how the copycat isn't the one right for the job, so he dons a Batman suit as well to track down Jason pretending to be Batman. Tim's able to track down Jason's little underground Batcave with the sole purpose of ending his masquerade. They duke it out for a bit, only for the fight to end with Jason nearly leaving Tim for dead after stabbing him with a batarang. Not to mention that this bozo also tried to kill Catwoman while she was dealing with some of the other villains that were out and about, like Firefly or the Penguin, thanks to Black Mask having freed pretty much every villain from Arkham. Nightwing tries to track down Tim after he ran off to find Jason, which leads to Nightwing and Jason having another physical altercation. Thankfully, Dick is able to beat that fraud of a Batman and rightfully takes up the mantle at the end with Damian Wayne as his Robin. Later on, Jason got a sidekick of his own for a short period named Scarlet after she was mutilated and turned into one of Professor Pig's Dollatrons or whatever. He aimed to make Batman obsolete and continue killing mob bosses and criminals as the more effective method. Sure, whatever, I guess. Eventually, Jason was put into Arkham Asylum, then transferred to another correctional facility where even in a jail-like setting, he was killing people. Killing around 83 inmates by poisoning the food alone, on top of murdering at least 6 high-ranking criminals. Post Under the Red Hood, Jason was just an outright murderous lunatic, but thankfully, Red Hood as a character after the New 52 reboot wasn't depicted as a psychopath and is actually more in line of being a hero, to the point where in Scott Snyder's run on Batman, you see him actually work alongside the rest of the Bat family and seems to be on good terms with everyone for the most part. Even got a new costume and everything, which is my preferred look for Red Hood. I think the New 52/Rebirth era best aligns with what comes to mind for most people when they think of Red Hood. Someone who likes to go over the edge a little bit, but more often than not cooperates with the Bat family, abiding by Batman's no-kill rule and putting their differences aside. His origin and transformation into Red Hood was a lot more streamlined, similar to the Under the Red Hood animated movie where they get rid of their reality warping shenanigans and simply have Jason die and be resurrected via the Lazarus Pit. A major focus of Jason Todd in the New 52 was the Red Hood and the Outlaw series, where he teamed up with Roy Harper, codenamed Arsenal, as well as Starfire. Even if at times he didn't have the closest relationship with the Bat family, anytime there was some massive Batman event or threat in Gotham that required all hands on deck, Red Hood would always pull up. If there are some problems with the Court of Owls and Talons in Gotham, he'll come through to help. Joker released some gas across the city, causing hundreds if not thousands of people to be infected with Joker gas. He gonna be there to help. Batman briefing the Bat family on his objective and going to Apocalypse so that he could bring Damian Wayne back to life after he died? Say no more. The beginning of the DC Rebirth initiative brought forth a new Red Hood and the Outlaws lineup, only this time it consisted of Jason, Artemis, and Bizarro. Batman allowed Jason to dig deeper into the Gotham underworld to learn more about anything that might arise, but he does warn Jason that he will take him down if he ever crosses the line or takes a life. For the first few issues of the Red Hood and the Outlaws series, Jason pretends to be Black Mask's second in command to learn more and eventually take down his operations in Gotham. It seemed like things had finally progressed to an ideal status quo, with Batman coming to terms with Jason and Jason deciding not to kill criminals anymore. Both him and Bruce seemed to be in agreement and could cooperate with one another fairly well. After all the BS some writers had Jason go through or depicted him as an antagonist to a few of the Bat family members, it's nice to see Jason just interact with Batman or Nightwing like he's an actual member of the family. Something as simple as a team up to take down some bad guys here and there is refreshing.
Finally, some good fucking food.
Unfortunately, we can't have nice things, and there's gotta be some conflict between Batman and Red Hood, regardless of how much they've moved on. Jason found out that his dad, Willis Todd, used to work for the Penguin back in the day and took the heat for something the Penguin did, resulting in Jason's father going to prison. He points a gun at Penguin and shoots him right in the dome. Obviously, the Penguin didn't actually die because this is comics. Red Hood's actions were televised, and it seems as if he broke his promise to Batman about the whole no killing thing. Unsurprisingly, Batman was furious to say the least in light of Jason's undoing. Seemed like it was just gonna be your typical altercation between Batman and Red Hood, but Batman just starts beating the brakes off of Jason. It wasn't even a fight, it was a straight up massacre. Afterwards, Jason continues to do his own thing outside of Gotham. Bruce tells him directly that he's not allowed to step foot in the city after his little stunt with the Penguin. Technically, he didn't break their deal since Oswald Cobblepot didn't die, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. At the same time though, it seems like they're still somewhat on good terms, I guess. One might argue that having Red Hood in a setting outside of Batman and the rest of the family could do the character some good, but guess what? Jason finds his way back to Gotham to continue his shenanigans. And you'll never guess what happened. Batman and Red Hood have another fight.
Again?
Again.
The first issue of the initial arc in Batman Urban Legends centers on Jason back in Gotham, where he's in the middle of tracking down a new drug that's been making the rounds in the city. to which a little boy's mother suffered from a drug overdose. Jason tracks down the boy's father, only to find out that he was the one who supplied the boy and his mother with the drug in the first place, and confesses he couldn't care less about the livelihood of his wife and son. Seeing the parallels between himself and the little boy, Jason instinctively shoots and kills the boy's father. Batman and Jason have like, what, their 7th fight over Jason breaking Batman's promises of no killing in his town? After the arc is over and done with, Jason actually gives up using guns entirely and says how he'll promise to no longer kill people. For like the 3rd time. From then on, he would use a crowbar as his primary use of a weapon along with other means to get the job done. Jason then served as a field leader for a government team of formerly dead supervillains that were revived in an almost zombified state called the Task Force Z. Batman questions Jason's antics in working with monsters, and you'll never guess what happened next. Him and Batman have another fight on the streets. My god, it's a never-ending cycle.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa!
That's too damn bad!
Surprise, surprise, Batman lets Jason do his thing and leaves him be for a while, right before coming into contact with Nightwing, Tim Drake, and Cassandra Cain and having a little fight with them as well. The writers then for some reason have Jason Todd have the sudden urge in wanting to hunt down and kill the Joker. Brother, why are we just retreading elements from Another Red Hood? This incessant need to flip-flop back and forth with Jason's arc is just tiring. He should be beyond the urge in wanting to kill Joker. Not to mention he went back to using guns despite saying he was giving that up. Y'all couldn't have made it more obvious you have no idea how to handle this character? Like, brother, ugh. There was this Bat Family event that happened not too long ago called Gotham War, which had Batman at odds with some of the family, where Catwoman had been gathering criminals / henchmen in secret with the sole purpose of training them and teaching them to commit crimes in different ways. She enforces them with her training to only steal from the wealthy and donate a small percentage of said stolen wealth to the city of Gotham. Selina has taken over the Gotham underworld and trained a bunch of henchmen to be cat burglars. Apparently this method reduced crime in Gotham to a whopping 75%, which is complete bull by the way, but whatever. Batman is heavily against this tactic as she's still promoting crime throughout Gotham, but even further favored against it when a small-time crook was killed trying to rob someone while working for Catwoman. This event in general just isn't that good. Like at all. Blatant character assassination for some of the Bat Family, and it's weird how the likes of Tim Drake are willing to ignore the fact that one of Catwoman's trained henchmen literally died trying to rob one of the wealthy due to the self-defense tactics of the person he was trying to rob. Batman literally brings this up to Tim and he's like, yeah, well, the crime rates are down and the numbers don't lie.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Stephanie Brown's father was a literal criminal mastermind, so she of all people should know how bad Selina's plan is, yet for some reason she saw one of Selina's henchmen steal from somebody and just did nothing. Jason was the first one to team up with Selina, completely to nobody's surprise, while the rest of the family believed Bruce was out of control after the stuff he'd been through with the failsafe robot and traveling the multiverse. They felt he wasn't in the right state of mind. It would be later revealed that Batman's Zur-En-Arrh persona, a backup personality he manifested in case his mind were to be tampered with or face a psychological attack, had been corrupting Bruce's mind, leading him to make very irrational decisions. Jason and Selina set up a diversion to prevent Bruce from stopping their antics, which leads to a fight between Batman and Jason, which then leads to the entire Bat Family aside from Damian trying to jump Bruce. Damian was the only one on Bruce's side, and the whole catalyst for the family being at odds with each other, or rather at odds with Bruce, is beyond moronic. Just artificial conflict to have Jason fight Batman over the same nonsense over and over again on how to stop crime. As of the time of recording, it seems that Bruce and Jason are back on good terms, with Jason officially being a part of the family. Again, good lord, wanting to see Red Hood actually progress as a character is like being in an abusive relationship. This is like the equivalent to Marvel refusing to let MJ and Peter be happy together for once in the Amazing Spider-Man books. Being this far into the Batman timeline, there is no need to have Jason have any arguments with Batman or any Bat Family member on how things should operate in Gotham or if they should kill criminals. It's beating a dead horse that only regresses the characters involved. I guess they just have no idea what to do with him, enticing them to just create conflicts between him and Batman to make cool comic covers or something. Just let my boy be happy, man. Keep him as a main Bat Family member or don't. Just be consistent and choose a lane to further tell stories that elevate him rather than trying to bring him down. DC needs to give Red Hood more respect.